Hello, beautiful family. How are you all doing? Thank you so dearly for always tuning in. I really appreciate. Today, the first time you are coming across us, so you are hearing this voice for the first time. We still remain Progress News, and we give you all the latest updates. Remember, in this platform, we react to all videos, and your opinion is highly needed. So sit back, watch this video, and I'll be right back.
Good evening, fellow Biafrans. Good evening, Ambazonians. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the press, those who are seated in your different locations this evening to listen to these two great people. Myself, the Prime Minister of Biafra Republic of Government in Exile, and Dr. Cho on this space as we respond to the ICG latest report. Also, as the Biafra Ambazonia Alliance is now on international spotlight. It's very important that our people know why the alliance of Amazonia and Biafra is what is needed at this critical time. So I welcome you, Dr. Cho, Ayaba. You can go ahead and welcome our viewers. Thank you. Dr. Cho?
I think Dr. Cho is having issues with the network. Maybe you bring him down and bring him up again. Prime Minister, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Dr. Cho, bring him down and bring him up again. He's having issues with the network.
All right, let me do that immediately. Yes, I think he's good to go. Dr. Cho, are you there?
No, that is network issue. Bring him down and bring him up again.
Okay. Yes, we can hear you.
All
Very
right.
well, very well.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you, advisors to the Prime Minister of the government in exile, and thanks also to my advisors, people of my communications department, and others who are here, fellow Ambazonians, fellow Biafrans, and members.
We've lost him again. Dr. Cho, you have issues with your connection, please.
Do you hear me?
See if you can fix it. Thank you.
I can still hear him. Prime Minister, if you cannot hear him, I think bring him down, bring him up again. Because I can hear him from here. Dr. Cho, I can hear you, but I guess Prime Minister cannot hear you.
Yes, I can hear him.
Yeah, Prime Minister, can you hear Dr. Cho?
Yeah, I can hear him now. Yes, I can hear him now.
All right.
Right on, please.
All right. Thanks a lot. Today, when we set our side on establishing an alliance with the Biafran people, it was based on some very tangible observations, historical realities, which I explained when the Prime Minister and myself were out. That for so long, the Biafran people have been demonized within what you describe as the Islamic State of Nigeria. You were perceived, and you are continuously being perceived as a nuisance, but a necessary nuisance which they can keep for the state of extortion and exploitation. Ambazonia, within the context of Cameroon, has been treated like an outcast. We were described as Biafrans, not in the semantic term of being Biafrans, but in reflection of the fact that we needed to be exterminated in the same way that genocide was visited on the Biafrans. We were called enemies in the house. They created a phobia in Ambazonia about Biafra. Biafra to Ambazonians at the beginning was like a no-go zone. Don't touch them because they are described in such a humiliating manner. So when I looked at the geopolitical reality in Cameroon, people in the east of Cameroon had relationships with Central African Republic. People in the north had relationships with the northern part of Nigeria. Ambazonia either had a relationship with the Atlantic Ocean or it must develop one with the people with whom we were somehow governed along our pathway to self-determination as a common people. In the Eastern House of Enugu, when we analyze the context in Nigeria, the Yorubas are highly connected to the people in Benin Republic. In the north, the Niger, the Biafrans were left with only Ambazonia. Yet, despite the massive trade between Biafra and Ambazonia, we were told by the two enemies to undermine each other, to fear each other, not because Biafra has ever invaded Ambazonia, not because Ambazonia has ever committed genocide on Biafra, not because we have ever done anything to each other that should merit that fear. And if history is anywhere to go to, when we walk out of the Eastern House of Assembly, Biafra never burnt 2,000 of our villages, kidnapped thousands of our people and locked them in perpetuity without proper trial. Biafra never burnt down children. Nothing happened. But an attempt to even ask Cameroon to reform our educational system is met with excessive force. And so within the context of these analyses, we came to the realization, and I'm glad the Prime Minister and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu before came to the same conclusion, that our relationship shall never be determined by neither Abuja nor Yaoundé. Our relationship shall be determined by the interests of both nations. And against all odds, even from internal opposition from certain Ambazonians, but I can say with a great welcome from the majority, we establish an alliance that at the beginning was attacked and now has become an international subject of the analysis of a reputable think tank based in Brussels. So we are here today to remind all of us that we didn't start this journey a couple of years back. We started this journey a long time ago. Now, the ICJ is, as I have just said, a reputable think tank. It's a non-governmental organization that is involved in research, policy analysis, and the prevention of conflict and conflict resolution. It helps highlight cases of conflict, pin them on the agendas of international institutions, nations, and other relevant stakeholders that can be involved in transforming the conflict, in resolving it, or accommodating its effect. Let me highlight a couple of issues that are relevant in that report before I hand over to the Prime Minister. The first is the way the ICJ captured the alliance. It captured it from the perspective of security for Ambazonia and security for Biafra. That this alliance provides the possibility for both people to use each other's territory for purposes of refuge and for purposes of support. And this is exactly how the Prime Minister, before him, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and myself have explained the importance of this alliance. Though the ICJ did not broaden it in the way I have explained on the relevance of the survival of Biafra, and to see that you cannot be within the context of a particular country that is allowed to build alliances beyond its own borders for its own geopolitical, economic, and strategic interest, why Biafra is not allowed to do the same. Why the Ambazonian Biafra alliance is treated almost like a pariah or as a threat to Abuja or Yaoundé. This alliance is not a threat to anybody. It is for the survival of Ambazonia and for the survival of Biafra. Another issue within the context of the Ambazonian Cameroon war is something which is relevant for Biafra to also know, for all of you Biafrans to know. I haven't brought this to the attention of the Prime Minister through our own representatives, but this will be an opportunity before I will ask my representatives to submit a brief to Dr. Joy for the attention of the Prime Minister. As we speak, and it's highlighted in the report of the ICJ, Cameroon has created its own militias within Ambazonia. It is using those militias as agents provocateurs to commit crimes, to create situations that will be blamed on Ambazonia. And Biafra must take note of this. As you push the enemy to the wall, the enemy will use your own. They will use the enablers, they will use the spoilers to be able to undermine both Biafran cohesion and both the legality and the legitimacy of the Biafran struggle. That is exactly what Cameroon has done in Ambazonia. It has recruited thousands thousands and thousands of Ambazonians and fronted them as the face of their opposition to our right to self-preservation and survival. It has now created militias, as highlighted in the report, to use the militias as all other militias have been used, like it was used in East Timor, to create chaos, panic, and lay the foundation for the commission of the crime of genocide. Finally, every birth begins with screams that we hardly understand. The journey from the mother's womb through the birth canal is a very difficult journey. Once the baby comes out, it immerses itself in an environment which is estranged from where it had sought refuge for 9 months. It is faced with all the plagues, the diseases, the hostilities created by man and by nature. That baby is nurtured and helped to understand their environment, their culture, to crawl, to stumble while trying to walk, and one day suddenly becomes a sprinter. That is the journey we have imagined for both Biafra and Ambazonia. This alliance will not succeed without the support of both the Biafran people and the Ambazonian people. We must believe in ourselves that an 80 million person economy can lift the people of Biafra and Ambazonia. We do not, based on our ingenuity, our creativity, our pain, and that pain has given us the ability to survive difficult situations. And that today, if this report has been able to capture this alliance, it is not going to make it work. It is in our hands to make it work. It is our fight. It is our future. And what we cannot allow to continue, fellow Biafrans and Ambazonians, is to allow a few misguided individuals who oversee our nations for the interest of foreign dominions to use perpetual violence and intoxication, not only to frighten the rightful owners of the land, but to transform those lands into a graveyard for the next 100 years. And as I said to our people, you must lay claim to it, have a stake in it, because on the day you take your last breath, you should be able to say to yourself that what you are transferring to the next generation of Biafrans and Ambazonians was more important than what you ever inherited. Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cho, for that apt submission from your end. You've actually touched everything concerning the importance of this alliance of Biafra and Amazonia. Well, my fellow Biafrans all over the world listening, those journalists who may be seated here today listening, I want to remind our people the blockade of Biafra. The blockade of Biafra, just like Dr. Cho has submitted, the borders of Biafra is between in the coastal part of Biafra. The blockade of Biafra, Cameroon and Nigeria used the Ambazonia border. And so our people must understand that having studied the mistake of the Biafran people in the past, having studied how Nigeria were able, with their counterpart, Britain, were able to starve our people to death, especially our children, during the genocidal war, it is of utmost importance that Biafra of today block every loopholes. What we see as the mistake of our past heroes shall and can never ever repeat itself again. And I will assure Biafra people today, alliance of the Biafra Ambazonia has addressed the issue of blockade. It can never ever happen again. That is number one. Number two, Looking at, I will not go into addressing what Cho have said because he has actually virtually touched the main issues on that report. But what the Biafra people is destabilizing this region? Is it the Biafra government? Is it the Ambazonia governing council? The answer is no. Our alliances will rather safeguard our people, give us the leverage to use both territory for the best interest of our people and our nation. And at the same
So my wonderful family, that brings us to the end of this update. Do well to like the video, share, and subscribe. Thank you, and bye-bye.